It's called Tua, and it airs this weekend. Check it out. Sticking with football, Washington released 35-year-old Adrian Peterson this morning. The NFL's fifth leading rusher all time will become a free agent, and he would like to continue playing, according to reports. Washington thanked Peterson on social media this morning after 2 years with the team. We bring Brian Westbrook back in. Brian, does AP have anything left in the tank after he was released by Washington this morning?
You know, I remember when I ended my career, I knew it was over, and I knew that I had nothing left to give. I probably knew the year before my last year that I had nothing left to give. But we saw Adrian Peterson last year, 800 some odd yards. The year before that, he over 1,000 yards. And I remember back in 07 when Adrian Peterson came into the league, and Brandon, you can relate to this. He was one of those guys as an offensive player that I would ignore everything that coaches were saying, and I would just go stand on the sideline and watch him run up and down the field. He had a great combination of power and speed and the thought process that I want to carry the ball every single game, 30 times a game. And that's what kind of made Adrian Peterson great. Does he have something left in his tank? Absolutely. I still think he can go to a veteran team, a team that probably is led by a quarterback. I'm thinking a team similar to Green Bay or something like that, and give them, 10 carries a game, 5 to 10 carries a game. He's not going to be your guy that's going to give 15 to 20 carries every single game. But if you need some hard-nosed football and those types of runs, Adrian Peterson can do that for you.
Brian, he's not only the guy that you get off the bench instead of resting. You get off the bench and you go watch him. But after the game, he's the guy you go get the jersey. You say, hey, AP, all day. Brother, give me that jersey. He has so much more left in the tank. It has to be in the right situation, though. Just last year, the last 2 years, he's averaged 4 yards a carry. Me, as a wide receiver, this is the type of guy I want to play with. Why? Because you have to put 8 men in the box. You go back to last year, he didn't come on until probably the second half of the season. They wasn't playing him. You remember what he did last year, 800-something yards, and he missed so many games. I don't know what's happened in Washington. They let go of Juice. They let go all day. I don't know who's going to carry the load for him now. But, AP, go home. We all want to see it. Make amends with the Vikings and go home.
Oh, go back to the Vikings.
So
I like
this
it.
is
Two-headed monster.
So I got a lot of emotions here because this is shocking. Because they did, as Brandon alluded to, they just released Darius Geis for other reasons. And now they're releasing Adrian Peterson, where, to Brandon's point, he's been good for them the last 2 years. I wrote his football obituary on this show after the Saints released him. Since then, he's had nearly 2,000 yards rushing, a dozen touchdowns. He's moved into 5th place on the all-time rushing list and 4th place on the all-time rushing touchdown list. If he never plays again, he's one of the 10 best running backs ever. He and LaDainian Tomlinson are the 2 iconic running backs of their era, with Brian Westbrook right behind him in 3rd place, of course. And so, we know what he's accomplished. But the only thing that would keep him out of the league would be, while he was very effective on a team, by the way, that nobody was scared of them passing. It's not like people were like, oh, you got to worry about Dwayne Haskins. And so those 4.3 yards per carry is an impressive number. The issue, Brian, and I want to kick it back to you, is teams know he's not catching the football. He had 7 catches last year. And he's most comfortable old school I formation fullback in front of him. So because he's not a threat catching the ball, and he's not really, he's not comfortable very often if he's lined up in the shotgun the way a lot of teams do, how much does that winnow the ability or the list of teams who would possibly be interested in him? Because you kind of have to run a very specific type of offense with him in the backfield.
Yeah, you do, but he's also a guy that can adapt. He's also a guy that can change. Maybe he can get into the one-back set. We've seen him do so many different things. He knows and he understands every single offense, but he's not going to be the guy that's going to be on 3rd down and long. He's not going to be the guy that's going to be catching the ball out of the backfield. That's just not his skill set. That's not something that he does. So that is going to narrow the amount of teams that he's going to be able to sign with. But there are teams that need a guy that can go get you that 3rd and 1, that can get you that 2nd and short. When you're in the goal line, you need a power back, a guy that can break a long run. There are teams that need guys like Adrian Peterson. So there's no doubt in my mind that there will be some teams that at least take a look at him. And here's what you know you're going to get. You're going to get a veteran that's going to do things the right way. You're going to get a guy that's always in shape, and he's not going to complain whether he touches the ball 5 times or 15 times. He's going to be able to go out there and get it done. And so I think he'll be an asset to any team that's looking for a veteran running back.
Okay, Brian, where would be a good fit for him then? Where would you like to see him end up?
You know, I'm thinking about a run-heavy team, teams that want to run the ball. I would have, obviously Baltimore went and got J.K. Dobbins, and they have Mark Ingram there. But that type of team that wants to run the ball a lot. Think about teams like San Francisco. I mentioned the Packers just because I still think they're looking for, even though Aaron Jones has done a great job, I still think they need that power, hit you in the mouth type of running back or something like that. But there are some options out there. Peterson, he's a vet that can get it. Some of these younger guys need a lot of practice to figure it out. He's a vet that has been there and done that, and so he is a valuable piece to an organization.
But Brandon, do you bring him in to play, or do you bring him also in to mentor at this point?
No, we need you to come in and play. We don't care about mentoring. Come in and play right now. I love the team that you picked, San Francisco. I love it because they run the keeper game and they run the stretch zone. San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan, great fit right here. Seattle Seahawks, B. You talked about that power running. They love to run the ball on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. I actually think they need to pass more. Jacksonville, there's an opening there. And then Pittsburgh Steelers. Brandon, this one is the most intriguing
one. What about you? Brandon, you mentioned Jacksonville, which does lead me to think, if he was released 72 hours ago, do you think the Bucs would have rather had him or Fournette? Like when the Bucs gave Fournette $2 million, no pun intended, to compete with Ronald Jones and be in that backfield. Now, I know he's not a guy you throw the ball to, but Brady in New England, if you remember, they basically had a running back that was just a run in Sony Michel, and then they had a running back who, when he was in, you knew they were passing. So that's something Brady's used to. So if he had been available 3 days ago, do you think Jacksonville would have rather had Fournette, who I think maybe is a bit of a more locker room, let's call it question mark, or Tampa. Peterson, if they would have rather had Fournette or Peterson?
For Fournette, I mean, because it's the upside is larger, right? Like, this is a guy that can come in, and I said it yesterday. And Brian, what I said was, this is a guy that could possibly go for 1,200, 1,500 yards in the right situation. I like him fitting in the Tampa Bay locker room. And then also, if he hits, you can sign this guy to an extension. So I like Fournette for the Bucs in this situation.
Fournette also gives you the opportunity to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a younger player. And even though I think Adrian Peterson still has some miles left, I just think he probably wants to go to a situation where they know they can win, and Tampa Bay certainly would be one of those situations. That's why I kind of take out the Jaguars. But with Brandon, when you mentioned Seattle, I mean, I think that's a perfect fit. He's the same type of guy that can go get those hard-nosed yards, a Pete Carroll type of guy. I see that perfect fit out there in Seattle as well.
Right. Well, the only reason I don't like Seattle is because I agree with Brandon entirely. I want Seattle to cut all their running backs. Let Russ cook. Let Russ throw the ball. Like, the last thing Pete Carroll needs is more of a reason to hand the ball off and keep the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands. But I want to bring up one other team. Now, I'm going to say on the front end, I don't think it's a fit. But when Fournette came available, a lot of my Kansas City folks said, hey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire's a rookie. Damian Williams is gone. Like, do you need a short yardage back? Do you think he would fit with Andy Reid in Kansas City, Brian? And would he be okay with, listen, man, you are going to be our short yardage goal line back and nothing much else? The one thing Adrian Peterson's missing from his resume is a Super Bowl ring. Obviously, he would get one if he played with the Chiefs. We all know that. So, like, do you think that would be a fit? Or in Andy Reid's offense, the fact that he's such a zero catching the football, it kind of nixes him from it?
Well, I knew you had to find a way to get the Chiefs in another Super Bowl and winning that, but I think he would be a fit because Andy Reid's a great schemer. He's a guy that can scheme you open. He could find ways to get Adrian Peterson in space, and especially short yardage and goal line situations. He could find a way to get the ball into Adrian Peterson's hands. He would be a fit because he was going to go in understanding you have a rookie and you also have Daniel Williams who's going to have an opportunity to play. Adrian Peterson would fit into any situation because he understands. He's a veteran. He's been there and done that. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go play for a contender like Kansas City. We mentioned San Francisco as well. There are teams that can use Adrian Peterson in specific situations to help them win football games because you know he's going to go downhill and run somebody over when he has the ball in his hand.
Well, we won't be wrong because we mentioned almost every team, so we got to nail it at some point. Take a break. Brian, thank you so much for hanging out today. Sticking with football, we're talking Captain Cam, QB1 in New England next. First things first.